Going live. Oh god, we're live. Quick, say words.
No.
That's only one word. I said words.
Yeah, well, I wasn't finished. You interrupted me, so
Oh, I'm sorry.
add a host.
Bad host. I am a bad host. And German, so
Yeah.
off to a bad start. A bad,
Mm-hmm.
bad start. Very nice. Well, it gives people some time to arrive. I mean, I would tell all kinds of things, but I was live here just yesterday, so I already talked about the things and stuff. Uh, and because I only worked and now I'm back here, nothing happened.
Oh.
Actually, I didn't even talk about Batwoman got cancelled finally. I didn't even mention that yesterday. That's the true tragedy
Mm.
of the last couple of days, isn't it?
Sad day to be alive, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we still have like 10 episodes to watch, I think. Uh, so there's still the coverage that's Kuman at some point. That's gonna happen for sure. So yes, hello chat, hello. At some point, I should start watching the movies you're talking about. Maybe depends.
No, there's no point in that. No.
Depends on the movie. This one you should watch. It's very good. Very good movie. Uh, right, Square Enix sold their Montrealism. Yeah, so I think there was that's Tomb Raider, Deus Ex was in there. I think more stuff. Legacy of Kain. That's probably getting people excited because that's a very
I
popular
remember
IP.
the memes with that. Do
Uh,
you do you remember really ancient memes with that?
with Legacy of Kain memes.
Yeah, like Al would always mention how much he likes the game, and then
Yeah.
it would essentially be a hipster choice because no one ever knew what the fuck that was. And then eventually, I think different people would just start suggesting Legacy of Kain whenever he couldn't remember a thing, and he was like guessing, and it would naturally piss him off a lot.
That's funny.
But we're talking fucking like 9 years ago or some shit now.
Yeah, I played Legacy of Kain back on my first PC. I think. Don't think I ever finished it, but it was an interesting little game. I liked it.
Oh, well, you're a bad person for not finishing it.
I mean, yeah, it's just how it is. It's just how it is. But yeah, I don't think anything else interesting happened in the couple of hours I haven't been live. Unless you have like some super crazy story to tell. To tell? Yeah, to tell.
What?
Not to tell, to tell.
I don't know what anything is.
See? Nothing interesting to say. As I
Oh,
thought. Because you're just long and it's all you do.
if I
Just
were just long, then why have I unlocked Santa water?
That is a very good question.
Yeah,
What can I purchase that Santa water? That sounds
I
delicious.
think it's like one of them. You get it when you go to like Saudi Arabia. I think that's where you get it.
That's a bit too far away. I don't think that's worth it.
You don't even know what it is.
Yeah, but getting to Saudi Arabia is like a pain in the ass.
Okay, but if it was for $10 trillion and infinite health, I'm pretty sure you'd say, "Oh well, your sounds worth it then."
I mean, yeah, obviously.
And you don't know that Santa water doesn't provide those benefits.
It's true.
You kind of just imagine that it doesn't.
But it'll also be just stinky poopy water when I get there. It's like, this was from Mr. Santa. Here, have it. Please give us cash now.
That's okay if that's true. That's fine.
Yeah, yeah. Squinting sold a ton of IPs and series. Yes, indeed, James. I just mentioned it like a second before you wrote it. uh, hey, Mootle and MauLer. Hello, hi.
Hi.
I think that was the first movie I saw with Oscar Isaac in it. That's a good one. It's a really good one.
First one you've seen for Oscar Isaac? Did they avoid the sequels?
Maybe.
I mean, most people seem to have seen Star Wars. I don't know.
Can you only super chat with credit card? I don't think so. I would assume it all works with PayPal and stuff. I would be surprised. Uh,
I mean, I've used it a couple of times and I've always been forced to use the cards, so I don't know.
oh, because well, maybe I'm a bad person and just never used super chats.
Yeah, yeah.
But I know that like memberships work with PayPal. No, that's not true. I had to use Google Pay for that. You're right. But my Google Pay uses PayPal, so it's PayPal after all. That's yeah. There you go. That's my theory.
So we call it a loophole
loophole.
or a gay hole.
Nice. Well, if it isn't Metalcommander and that Welsh guy who drowned Saturday.
Who drowned Saturday? I drowned a whole day.
Damn. That must have sucked.
I must have gotten in trouble. People like Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday's
If I
pretty
drowned
cool.
Monday, I think people would be like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. I would be all for it. The Mondays are
The drowning of Monday, yeah.
the drowning of Monday. I would sign a petition for that.
It's a little bit fucked up, but okay.
I still do it. That's just
Yeah, I heard what you said. I'm just saying that a lot of people would find that disturbing.
yeah, and I'll do it again in their
You did
face,
it again?
and then drown them too.
So much drowning.
Some people just deserve the drowns.
Some people deserve the downs. Damn, Mel.
no, the drowns.
So cruel.
There's an rrr before the O. Long Saturday bad? Wait, long Saturday good. Give me all the long Saturdays. That's a really good thing to have. I do enjoy the long Saturdays.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Talking about Monday, it is Monday. And I feel like it is a Monday because it's Monday. That's my story for Monday. It feels like a Monday.
That was a good story.
Thank you. But yeah, what are we doing today? I mean, if you read the title, you know what we're doing.
Nice, you spoiled it.
Yeah, I did. We're talking about Ex Machina, which is kind of a follow-up from the I Am Mother stream we did a couple of months ago by now. Because I think you mentioned...
they share genres to some degree.
Yeah, and you mentioned it on that stream, and that's when I wrote it down to watch it at some point.
Yeah, that's fair.
And now I did, and it's very good. I really like this movie.
Good.
I did.
Why?
Because it has like all the good things in it, like frames. They hold the frames really well in that movie.
Ooh, they hold that frame. Yeah.
They hold frames all the time.
The director knew how to do it, whereas John Watts did not know how.
Exactly. That John Watts, you rascal, you hold that frame, you dingus. Yeah, no, it was very good. I enjoyed it very much, and I have lots of notes because there's lots of happening in that movie that you can catch up on while you watch it. I guess you watched it when it came out, I would assume.
I was recommended it when it came out, but I didn't watch it for a while, and then I did. I think I watched it before TLJ happened, so I can't remember exactly when, but yeah. I think when I met the folks, Rags had said he watched it and really liked it, and I was like, which makes sense in a sense, because he's also the person who adores Selma. I guess you're in that club too, but
yeah,
Fringy had not. I showed him it, and he thought it was neat.
Neato. When does this come out? 2014.
Yeah.
Damn, son. Damn.
A Time of Wizards.
I think there were wizards in 2014. There's like some now, but they're like they're just hiding. They're like, we don't like this right now.
Well, that's why I said a time of, like, rather than the time is still going, you know.
Absolutely. But yeah, we all watched it. I don't know if anyone in the chat have seen that movie. I hope they did because it's really good. And if you haven't, go watch it. It's a big old recommend for me. It's a thumbs up in the butt.
Well,
Uh, well,
what's your overall review then? What's your overall impression?
our impression is it has like lots of neat things happening. The whole they mentioned the Turing test, which was like, oh wait, that's the whole thing with the checking if the robot has conscience and stuff, which I probably only learned recently about when I watched Goon's channel, and he talked about the Turing test to some degree.
Okay.
Yeah, because I knew about the thing and I kind of knew how it worked, and so when they start showing the actual AI like in full, it's like, wait a minute, that's not how the Turing test works. And well, they mentioned it in the movie, so I was like, oh, well, okay, there you go.
Yeah,
uh,
I guess I've known about it for a while as a concept, but I still remember. I don't know if you ever played it. There was a game called the Turing Test. I think it was
uh,
indie.
you streamed
Um,
that back in the day, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
Isn't that
And
when
it's
you was it fuck you to the AI and it recognized you and let you in the room? Something.
no, that was a different game.
Oh,
I think
okay.
I can't remember the name of that one, but yeah, that was funny as fuck.
I remember that clip because you were constantly cursing at the AI, and then it's like, oh, I don't know if it's actually you. I can't let you. It's like, fuck you. It's like, oh, okay, come in. It was fucking great. Um, so yeah, immediately when they start doing they say they're doing a Turing test, and then we see the AI immediately. It was like, that's not how this works. But yeah. Obviously, at the end, we know this is like not the plan at all. So yeah, I think it's pretty tight from what I can tell in its writing. Because every time I thought I found something, they actually come up with something that happens.
I think the only issue I really take is that there wasn't a complete backup failsafe for Nathan
Yeah,
in
that's
the
that.
form of saying a word.
Yeah, I would have gotten to that at the end as well. I was weirded out that there wasn't like a button you could press. And it's like, oh, you got out? Nope.
You'd think he'd say something like grapefruit vampire,
It's
and
like,
then she
oh,
just
no,
deactivates.
and then melts.
Yeah, mine is basically.
I actually found this movie kind of creepy in some parts.
I think that's intentional.
Yeah, very, very disturbing. But I think it's all just very well executed, and just the way Ava works, the AI in the movie, is pretty neat. And obviously the ending, it just does what it was programmed to. And it's like, yeah, I guess that's gonna that would have happened if it would have completely succeeded. But yeah, just how they the way they start talking to each other, the Ava and Caleb, because it kind of starts. Wait, how did I put it when I wrote it down? I would get there when we get
Well,
through the
if you
movie, I guess.
grab them notes, I guess
Yeah,
you could.
I'm just trying to figure out if I should say it now or if I should just go through it chronologically as we do, and then we get there anyways. But I like how the conversations start and evolve, I guess.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. I really like the dialogue. Uh,
Oh, I'm a big old Chungus fan of the dialogue, and I'm also considering how to approach talking about this movie. It's the thing that connects it to I Am Mother for me is that there is a second movie running in this movie.
mm,
And I was wondering, I guess, if you pick up what I'm putting down with that without going into any more depth.
a second movie. Uh,
Well, let's put it this way. If you could summarize, yeah, chronologically summarize the events, that's probably a good start. It shouldn't take you too long, right? Because we won't go into any specifics
yeah,
yet. I'm just curious of a lot of things. A lot of discussion happens about this movie.
yeah. There's lots of to talk about. Uh, I mean, if you would just shortly summarize it, it's basically we get to see Caleb. He wins a lottery, so he gets to test something with his boss, and they fly him out there into this little complex, and this huge fucking complex that has like I don't know, many acres of land. There's like ice and jungle almost. So it's like a very secret location. He gets flown in there with a helicopter, and he has to sign an NDMA. And then basically, what happens? He just taught Caleb talks to the AI. There's I think 7 sessions in total, if I'm remembering correctly. And
Yeah.
I think I know what you're getting at. I think because we have on the one hand we have the sessions going on, which is just a conversation between Caleb and Ava and how their relationship evolves. And then at the same time, in between those, we just get the conversations and relationship between Caleb and Nathan, which is the boss of what do they call it, Blue Book or something was the name of the company.
Yeah, just the Google equivalent.
Yeah. Um and yeah, basically he's there to do a thing that he thinks he's supposed to do. But Nathan actually has like completely different plans, and he's kind of deceiving him the whole time. And even when Caleb thinks he figured it out, Nathan is like, "Oh yeah, it's because of this and that," and then he kind of guides him back from what he's thinking, or just gives him a different lie that he can chew on. And yeah, at the end, Caleb basically falls in love with the AI and wants to live with it and go on a date. And did I miss something? So Caleb does like a whole plan. He does like shenanigans with coding because he is a coder. And he makes it that if there's like a shutdown, all the doors open up, and he basically makes it so that Ava can escape. Nathan did not want that to happen. He thinks he has everything under control, but actually, with the first blackout where he couldn't see them, Caleb already did some shenanigans. And on the day he's supposed to leave, he gets told everything. He's like, "Oh, actually, you were here to test something completely different, which we will get into later." But Caleb already set the process in. Already started the process of getting Ava out, and she gets out. Nathan gets yeeted away, but then the AI also doesn't actually do anything with Caleb, and the AI just leaves. And so AI bad.
That's the movie. Yeah, bad.
That's basically the super short summary without any details at all.
Yeah, like guy goes to perform the Turing test for his boss. It through manipulation breaks out, kills the boss, traps the participant, and escapes into the world. That is the quickest way to summarize the film, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
So, how do we go? What do we do now? Where to begin? I suppose we can rerun through the film, but slower.
Sure.
But I suppose I'm going to have to put out this idea first, and then we can go through the references.
Sure.
Because something I do adore about this movie was its dialogue.
Absolutely.
And when I first saw it, I was like, this movie's pretty genius, and I love it. And then I watched more work from the guy who made this, and now I'm not so sure the film is genius. It could be lucky.
Oh.
Um,
It's like
but
the
I
A24 guys, right?
no, well, no, Alex Garland is who I'm talking about.
Isn't I thought they're all just part of this A24 group, and they make like
Well,
all kinds of movies.
I mean, I would already hesitate to be like certain that A24 is going to provide you with a good movie automatically. I'm just saying that
Oh, okay.
Alex Garland, the creator behind it, has made Devs and Annihilation, and I kind of hate both of those. And I think that they have a pathetic understanding of the subject matter that they're gunning for.
Huh.
Meanwhile, I feel like this movie has a great understanding of what it's talking about, and
Yeah.
it's executed really well. So it's like, what happened? And that's so this is the thing. Everything I'm going to say and discuss with you
Yeah.
is like it's not in stone, and I don't think I have any like quotes from the creator to confirm any of this stuff, though I haven't looked that deeply into it. I just like talking about it
Yeah.
once
Same.
people see the movie. Um, so you got uh this is the thing. I keep trying to think of like, should I just say it or should I start with some references to set the groundwork a little bit? But from Nathan's perspective,
Mm-hmm.
he's bringing in the guy who he thinks is best for testing
Mm-hmm.
whether or not Ava will use every component available to her to survive, and thus prove that she is AI because that's what a human would do.
Mm-hmm.
That's like his plan. And it's like, all right, sweet. And then you know you can view the film that way and it completes, but there's just some scenes that he says some stuff and it makes you think. Now, one of them is when Caleb is talking to Nathan about how what's the plan for Ava,
Mm-hmm.
and he says, "Well, I'm gonna decommission and read through everything, and then upload it back up, wipe the memory, and try again with the next model."
Yeah.
And that scene begins with him saying, "I feel like the next model is the one that's done it.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not
gonna.
her; it's the one after her."
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and again, like I think first run through the movie, you would be like, "This is scary because that means she's gonna get killed." And the in the movie, it's like turns out she is the best one, right?
Yeah.
I would posit no. I still don't think. I think she's a failure strictly because of a lot of the things she's capable of doing in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
While the true success of what AI, well, what is truly artificial intelligence, is actually Caleb, and that Nathan created him. And I think that if
Oh,
you watch
okay.
the movie through, considering that that is the reality, a lot of lines start to make different kinds of sense.
Hmm.
Um,
It's
now
because I thought about that being a thing, but then he starts cutting up himself and he's just bleeding
he
everywhere.
did. Do you
Uh,
remember
so that's why I
if you?
dismissed that theory entirely, to be honest.
That's the main reason people dismiss this.
Yeah.
But the problem is with that, any sci-fi that covers this topic accounts for that almost immediately. Do you remember how Soma accounted for it?
Um. Well, it's just with the changing bodies, right?
So how did Soma account for your personal POV being tricked into thinking you were human?
Uh, uh, Me as the player,
Mm-hmm.
where we just change POVs from to the other conscious that we just yeeted over to the other body, but we don't actually have the
I'm
same conscious.
gonna answer the question for you because maybe I'm not clear.
Okay.
So in the beginning of the game, there's a few people who play it. I would say majority of them believe that you're a human being, not a robot. That's kind of a reveal in the first act,
Mm-hmm.
or rather a reveal from if anyone's paying attention to a lot of what Soma gives away. Now you're in the room talking to um, Catherine, and the place starts to fall apart and fills with water from the ocean outside, which means, yep, you're dead. There's nowhere to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna die. And then you're like, but wait, I'm fine. What the fuck? And then you look at your hands, and they sort of have a little glitchiness to them, and then you see what your hands actually are. They're not human, they're robot.
Mm.
And the point is, and Catherine talks about it, there's a filter that applies to the creatures in Soma through a lot of the programming and stuff to make them more accustomed and comfortable and unaware of their reality of their existence. Um, yeah, like a mental safeguard, as James said.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you remember, Carl Semkin is like a fucking monitor and a couple of robotic arms on the floor, and he's convinced he's a human that's just stuck under some debris. Um, so I assume that either we got that going on,
Okay.
where the perception from Caleb is covered by Nathan and deliberately, because the problem with testing whether or not Ava is AI is that she already knows she's a robot,
Mm-hmm.
which I think plays drastically into whether or not you'd be able to figure out if she has artificial intelligence or not. And simultaneously, you could have the Westworld way, which is that he may have cracked a physical body that can imitate a biological one for the most
Mm-hmm.
part.
Mm-hmm.
Still sounds like a reach for this movie. Well, I mean, since I've explained about 5% of this, I could imagine why you're feeling skeptical. Um, but yeah, that's the only thing that requires a little bit of not stuff that they necessarily make overt in the movie. But then you start looking at everything else. Um, I don't have it like collected all in a row. It's just gonna be stuff that we'll go through.
Mm-hmm.
But you got the scene where they're talking about her sexuality,
Yeah.
and then Nathan is like, "Well, there's a lot of reasons why that is the way that it is." And he says like, "Present to me any form of communication and intention that is devoid of sexuality as a component in some way, shape, or form, or whatever."
Yeah.
And they go back and forth on it for a little bit until Caleb says, "Nobody programmed me," and he goes, "Really? You
Mm-hmm.
chose to be straight?"
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a great conversation on its own, but there's the subtextual admittance that Caleb was indeed programmed. But
Oh.
obviously on the surface we're referring to how humans in a sense are programmed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Meanwhile, I think that if you're running with the other theory, it's like it's an overt recognition that Caleb might be the one that's being tested right now. The Turing test is more so being run by Nathan with Caleb. Um, but at the same time, you could argue that the true test of whether or not the AI is convincing as a human is whether or not it can fool an AI,
Mm-hmm.
and the AI in this case being Ava. And if you watch the scenes with her and Caleb, there's a lot of shots that have it be overt where Caleb is the subject, he's in the box, and
Mm-hmm.
she gets to roam around, choose whatever she wants, and she gets to interrogate and ask questions at her will
Yeah.
as well. Um, so it starts getting a little like, huh, that's interesting. Big thonk. The fact that at one point he refers to Caleb as not lucky but chosen,
Mm-hmm.
because of course the he admits that, and this is what I think is quite clever about the film, if this is what they were going for, is that he reveals his lies, and all he means by that is you didn't win a lottery, you were chosen. When I
Yeah.
think the truth is that it goes much further than that, that he was constructed, placed within the
The
workplace,
workplace.
to test out on the public, and
Hmm.
then once that was working out just fine, it all worked. Nathan wanted to test him out on a robot. Um,
Interesting.
then consider the fact that his history, he has no like significant connections, no family, no girlfriend, and he said like no friends to the point of it being a
Absurd.
significant connection.
Yeah, almost absurd that he has like no friends at all. Like he's like unconnected to anything, pretty much.
Yeah, he's like
Like
a loner,
from
and
a family tree, and he's only
he
like a
believes
couple of meters away from the workplace in a really tiny apartment, as he says.
exactly, which to me sounds like Nathan can buy an apartment, pay for it, but program Caleb to just assume everything is the way that it is because it's the way that like it's very easy to make him think of that, and then have him work in your company. Who's going to question that? Like
Yeah.
that's easy. And yeah, that would be the ultimate test of whether or not Nathan is fully successful in this. Is could he get him to integrate into human society with nobody noticing?
Hmm.
But then what if he's given the hardest test of all, and it is to convince a robot that is. I think Ava is a failure because she's almost like a heightened sense. She's like further on than a human. She can pretend to be human if she wants to. She's fully
Yeah.
aware of almost everything, which isn't quite, I think, what Nathan wants. He wants to fully simulate a human. And if you notice throughout the film, every time Caleb is talking about either analytical stuff or quotations or he's misunderstanding something, Nathan gets frustrated. He's like,
Yeah.
he's already getting bored of how he knows what the computer will say. If he's treating Caleb as a computer, it would be like asking the computer 2 + 2 equals, and then it goes 4, and you're like, yeah. But what he's asking the calculator is, how do you feel? And he's fascinated by the answers, and I think that works way more when you watch the film, that he's not interested in the analytical answers because he knows them all.
Yeah.
Um, and technically he designed the creature he's talking to, but he doesn't know what it'll say if he asks it what it feels. And
Hmm.
I think to Nathan that's proving that it's special. Uh, And yeah, and when you go through the movie, it's hard to tell just how much Nathan is in control of, um,
Mm.
and how much he's aware of. Because I was when I rewatched it for us talking about it, I was just thinking about the idea of like, what if Nathan wasn't as drunk as he seems, and he was actually hoping to get Caleb to search through his stuff to set him up for something. But it's like I'm not sure about that. It's kind of confusing. I think that Nathan's got a bit of a god complex.
Yeah.
There's one line in particular that I think is almost overt from the writer to tell us that. What I found interesting was that Caleb as a name refers to being wholehearted, uh, while his name is Caleb Smith,
Mm-hmm.
and Smith is one of the most common placeholder names for a man that like doesn't have an identity.
Yeah, yeah.
What an interesting choice of name
Hmm.
for what I believe to be the actual Turing test. He's wholehearted and fake,
Hmm.
which is exactly what Nathan wants to create. And then Nathan's name means gift of God or God has given, which putting those two together in that
Yeah.
environment,
Yeah.
like this is what I find interesting about this film is that a lot of the time you would talk extensively about Ava, but I find that the more interesting discussion is what Caleb represents, what all the discussions with him and Nathan actually are, and I think that's what
Huh.
Nathan's interest was. I don't think he cared that much about Ava. Um,
Yeah. Huh. That's super interesting.
like why do you think that it annoys Caleb when it annoys Nathan when Caleb quotes someone because he's like, yeah, there you go with a quote instead of coming up with your own thing from
Yeah.
your own intelligence. Because if you're, I love the
Hmm.
moment when he's like, it's not my quote, it's Oppenheimer. It's
Yeah.
after he said, he's like, yeah, I know. He's like pissed off that Caleb doesn't even know him well enough to know that he would obviously know who said that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I always
Um,
just was like, oh, it's just Caleb is just bad with sarcasm and jokes, I guess.
yeah, well, it's because every time he disappoints Nathan, that's evidence of Nathan's failure as a programmer. Like
Mm.
the AI isn't doing what he wants it to do or hopes it would do, but that could again just be his bias instead of accepting that this is the reality of creating a fake human, but it's
Mm.
100% accurate. Because I think as well, what plagues the film as a question is how do we tell the difference between an AI that is basically no different than a human in terms of how it operates in every way, shape, and form, we can't prove otherwise, versus a computer that figured out how to imitate a human and does it perfectly, which is what I think Ava is doing. She
Mm-hmm.
knows how to appear human, but in reality, she isn't at all. Like, and that's not how she thinks. Meanwhile, Caleb isn't doing an impersonation, he's just being. And so that's the successful model.
Huh.
Unfortunately, that successful model means you're as manipulatable as a human,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
gets used as a tool. Um,
Huh.
yeah, I find it all pretty fascinating to watch when you think of Nathan throughout the film as someone who's looking at his newest model and talking to it and testing it himself.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, that's I didn't think of any of that. Mostly,
Um,
as I said, because I just dismissed that theory because
I
he
think that the part
tested a
where
thing.
he cuts himself is meant to completely throw you off the trail of this theory. But the thing is, so many pieces of dialogue, events, and points the movie's making match up with this that I find it's like, so either through incompetence or misdirection, this is a theory that I think is validated, or I think the film is kind of genius. It's one
Yeah,
of those two.
yeah. It's one of those two. It's interesting because Caleb also went because that's how I wrote it down when he starts talking to Ava for the first time. He almost talks to her like he's typing shit on a command line, like an actual Turing test. Because normally you just sit in front of a computer and you don't know if there's an AI or an actual person behind the other door or behind the screen or whatever. And the way he asks the questions is like da 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 da, full stop, and then he waits for a response. Uh, and maybe that's like another thing that could no, I'm missing the word that could steelman this because he's talking like a robot almost. But only, but maybe not, because when he talks to Nathan, he talks normally for the most part. So
Well, I
maybe
think that's part of why Nathan would have conducted it all this way, is to convince him the test is happening in the testing room,
Mm-hmm.
while in reality the test is all of it. If you remember as well, there's when Caleb is first he first explains Mary in the black and white room.
Uh-huh.
Soon after, when Nathan explains he shows him all of the construction, and he just sees more of everything. He has a dream where he is with Ava
Mm-hmm.
outside, and it's black and white, which to me is
Yeah.
some of the most overt evidence of the theory. But the thing is, you could also ignore it as just, yeah, it's Caleb's fear that he is a machine right now. Because the idea there
Oh.
being so for those who didn't see the film, Mary in the black and white room refers to how if you had like a scientist who knew everything about color, everything there is to know possibly about it, but she's in an environment that's only black and white, there's no other colors, then and then she opens the door and goes outside into a world filled with color. That is how you would define the difference between a robot and a human. Being that the robot has the full understanding but doesn't know what the feeling is and doesn't know how to express it.
Mm.
Meanwhile, Mary out of the room is the human who feels it, understands it, and can express it. He dreams of being with Ava because he's falling in love with her, but in his dream it's black and white. He's
Ah,
outside, he's
okay.
with her, and so I think he's having a nightmare of, am I a robot? And am I currently in black and white? Because I've got the full understanding of basically everything, but I don't have the context of knowing where I actually sit in the universe, which is
Mm.
not in the colors, so to speak. Um, and that's yeah, it's not long after that that he does the cut his wrist to check, and then he punches a mirror, which by the way, ow.
Yeah, ow, exactly.
And I wonder if that's just a thing of like movie plot armor, but I was like, his hand's okay after that?
we
Hmm.
don't even see it bandaged or anything after that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
We just kind of ignore it.
Oh, and it's worth pointing out, it's hard to ignore the God comparisons for Nathan with Adam and Eve being
Mm.
Caleb and Ava.
I mean, Caleb does a God reference as well. It's like, oh, you basically become God. It's like the history of gods, I think he says at some point. Like the first conversation after the first session, I think.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's a really neat theory.
Oh,
I
well,
like.
and again, I'm going to keep bringing up references as I sort of
Sure.
notice and remember. If you remember when they first discussed the NDA, he says, so, like, I think once he signed it, he said, so you're building an AI? And he says, I've already built one.
I
And
already
over the
built
next
one.
few days, you are going to be the human component in the Turing test.
Hmm.
And I find that line so interpretable. You are the human component in the Turing test.
Yeah, yeah,
On its face, on the surface, you could be like, yeah, the Turing test involving an AI and a human, he's the human. Or you
yeah.
could take it to mean you are what I hope to be proven to be human in the Turing test. Because you're an AI, and I want you to be like you're the human component at this point. You're the final end of my development. You're the
Mm.
one that's going to prove that I can make an AI that passes the Turing test. And he says, if the test is passed, you're dead center of the greatest scientific event of man.
Mm.
Which to me again is like dead center, like the actual AI.
Yeah, yeah. Damn.
Um,
giving me all the things right now. The
well, yeah, it's
things.
the human interviewer versus
Mm.
the humanity in the machine that he may be referring to. I find it very interesting.
Huh.
Um,
And I'm thinking about other stuff because we're in that one session where Eva asks him stuff, so ask Caleb stuff. It's like, what is your first memory? And then it's like, oh, it's like, I think he says something about kindergarten first, and then it's like, nah, that's not it, because she's like a walking lie detector or something, because of micro visage stuff or something. Um, and it's like, oh well, there's one more, and it's like it's blue, and I think I heard a sound, and I think it was my mother. And I was thinking if there's
mhm.
anything in the movie that could reflect the blue light. I think the
Well,
braintism is
yeah.
blue.
I think both references are
Um,
the artificial brain, and the voice is probably Ava because she was the
mm,
model he would have been built on.
yeah, yeah. So that might be another thing.
I think all of this shit, it's like it's too hard to ignore. It's like,
Damn, that is super interesting. Uh, just recontextualized the whole movie for me. Thank you.
well, it's like I said, that's how it
Same.
connects to I Am Mother for me. I
Yeah.
fucking love movies that do this to me, where I'm like, wait a second. It's yeah, and just to I guess finish out that scene, the where he says, I mean, fuck, man, that's so good. You know, when we write about this moment, he looked at me and said, "You're not a man, you're a god." And he's like, "I didn't say that."
I didn't say that. Yeah.
But yeah, Nathan, I think, has a huge ego.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah,
he's kind of fucked up too.
yeah. He seems kind of lighthearted. As long as you're on the same page with him. As soon as you start
Oh,
asking
dude.
questions that annoy him, he goes like, "Oh,
Yeah, he seems like a really fun guy to hang out with, but once he's angry, he seems like one of the worst people ever.
this is terrifying." And the raging alcoholism to some degree, because apparently he
Yeah.
realizes at some points, and he's like, "I had a little bit too much. I'm just gonna sober out for the next couple of days," which is a thing in the end that happens. Which I'm not sure if that's actually because he's recognizing this, and more because he knows what Caleb is up to. Yeah, interesting, very interesting. Now let's go and rewatch it.
Well,
Yeah.
because I find it interesting, you know, you said like they're not even conducting the Turing test properly, and the fact that she's also fully aware of her position, which I
Mm,
think compromises it. That's because I just don't think that there's an actual Turing test running with her. I think that's all been done. He doesn't need Caleb for that.
yeah, yeah. But well, Nathan straight up says it at some point because it just goes like, "Oh, no, no, we did all the not the other parts already with the normal Turing test. We actually doing another thing where you're able to see the AI, and then you have to tell me if that AI has a conscious." So he already recontextualizes the test like from the get go after the
Yeah.
first session. So yeah, interesting stuff. There was even more meat on this movie than I thought. This is crazy.
It's all chewable.
It's a lot of chewing going on here. Uh, yeah, damn, that's good stuff. Um,
Oh, and by the way, part of my interest in this theory is I'm not sure if Ava realized he was a robot or not. I'm not sure. Um, because she doesn't seem to give a shit at all about him, except figuring out how he works and then how to manipulate him.
yeah, yeah. I don't think it's of interest for Ava. She just wants to get out.
Well, it just shows that she's a cold, calculating bitch to an extent.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's because she's a lot more complex than, dare I say, a lot more complex than a human.
Mm.
She is fully aware of her situation. She knows that she's got imminent death, and she has to find a way out. And
Yeah.
he was just gullible enough. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
because yeah, I don't even know what we should assume should happen because Nathan made it clear that basically nobody checks on him there. Um,
Yeah.
and she's leaving on the helicopter back to the one that Caleb was supposed to take. So yeah, I don't know what happens to Caleb. Um,
Yeah, because it's funny because now if we think about if he's does he need nourishment? Because he does eat. We see him eat. I'm pretty sure in the movie as well.
oh
Uh,
yeah, I'm sure. This is the thing. I think the Westworld theory would hold to some degree, like
mm,
the approach with what kind of body Caleb has that Nathan may have created for him that's super duper duper advanced
yeah.
that can even process food, sort of thing. Remember, you can buy those little baby dolls that drink milk, and then
Oh no,
you have to empty them or whatever. I don't know.
nasty.
It's just like that, but advanced.
Advanced. God damn. Yeah, it was a bombshell. I didn't expect. I thought I had this movie down. I was like, yeah, it's good shit. And then it's like,
I thought that's what you were
actually,
referring to when you were saying you had lots to think and say about it.
oh no, just in general because there's a lot of things you can catch up on. Uh, yeah, what is the Westworld theory? I think the Westworld theory is basically you have AI, but they're so advanced that they're basically humans already, but they're
No, I
like
was
on
referring to their
exo
bodies.
the bodies. Oh, okay, okay.
In Westworld, they're like sewn and constructed of fake flesh
Mm,
that's pumped with blood, and basically you can't tell the difference. With whatever you do with them, they appear human.
yeah, yeah.
Um, which is yeah something that Nathan might have cracked. I quite like the scene where they're having food. I think for possibly where Kimiko spills a drink. That scene.
Dude, Kimiko
If
just kept me guessing this whole movie. I was like, oh,
yeah.
is she a spy plant thingy? Is she just part of this? Is she the wife? And for some reason, I never even got the idea. Oh, did I? Hang on. I don't know if I got the idea if she might be a robot. I might have. I don't remember, to be honest. But there were so many things I thought what she's actually is. Like, is she a maid, a wife, a plant? Is she just here like he says she is? I don't know. But yeah, then we obviously figure out she is a robot in the end as well. It's like the one of the older models, I think, or the
Oh
previous model
yeah,
before Ava or something.
and they are careful in the film throughout to just show her noticing people and listening to them talking
Exactly. That's why
and watching screens.
it was like, oh, she does understand English. She's like a spy or something, or a plant or whatever. But yeah, no, she's just interested what Caleb does to, I guess, free the other robot she's aware of,
Hmm.
so she can, I don't know, escape too, because she fights Nathan at the end as well, which is interesting because that means she has a conscience too, to some degree.
Oh yeah, there's different degrees going on. It's I think there's a lot to interpret about the way that she and Ava interact.
Yeah.
There's a lot to assume because like Ava doesn't take the time to repair and free her. She just ditches her.
Kimiko also doesn't blink, doesn't she? Really? I didn't notice that. That's interesting.
In that scene where she spills the wine, by the way,
Yeah.
Caleb says the best indication of AI is how you can interact in conversation that shows an awareness of not only your own brain but the person you're talking to's brain, and to create sort of language that applies for both of that, appeals to both at the same time. He says that
Mm-hmm.
she could only say what she's saying with an awareness of her own mind and awareness of mine, um, which I thought was really interesting because that scene is the first scene that Caleb starts lying to Nathan, and
Mm.
he's doing it because he doesn't know if he can fully trust Nathan. He finds him a bit strange, and so I feel he's describing himself. He's saying this
So
stuff is only stuff he could be saying if he had an awareness of his own mind and that of Caleb's slash Nathan in this case.
yeah.
Um, because if you remember, Nathan jokes about how he had to kill everybody who knew too much,
Yeah, yeah.
and like it doesn't go over very well with Caleb. And I think that joke combined with a bunch of other things that happened up to that point, when Caleb is asked what she said when the power went down, he has a choice to make. Could tell him that she said not to trust him,
Mm.
or he could just say nothing, man, nothing interested, which is an interesting choice, and a choice that I think is the first example of him going in a particular direction
Yeah, yeah.
that shows he's almost off script or acting more human in a way.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man. Um.
Did
I
you
don't even
like
know.
that
Oh,
what he
go ahead.
described the brain? What he said that it was made out of was structure gel. I was like, oh,
Oh, did he
like
say structure
Soma.
gel? I didn't
Yeah.
catch that. Nice. That's neat. Bu- damn, this is I don't know where to segue into. I'm just thinking about the theory now.
Yeah.
uh, it's good stuff.
I in that scene, it was fun to hear him say that like with search engines, the world has provided almost infinite raw data, and that most companies didn't even know how to use it. They just wanted to try and find a way to monetize it.
Yeah.
Um, when he said like it tells you how people think,
Mm,
fluid, imperfect patterns. It's chaos.
it's chaos. Yeah.
Uh, which is super interesting to think about because again, I think that is probably true about humans, and it doesn't represent Ava. She's very specific and straightforward about every single goal she has, without necessarily letting that loose to Caleb. Everything is very cold and planned with her.
Yeah, because she's basically for this session she's programmed to manipulate Caleb to get out. At least that's what Nathan says.
I wouldn't be surprised that her image that she provides Caleb, it was deliberate as a choice of image. If you remember, it's just the view she has of some plants outside of her room.
Mm.
But if you think about that image as she's drawn it, and it looks almost like a printer has done it, it's a series of nature boxed in by a dark, cold, hard frame,
Yeah, there's
which
also
it obviously represents her.
like shapes around it. Like it's not only the plant or whatever she draws, but there's also like almost I don't know like a web of mechanical things. I don't know how to describe it. It's like very structured. Like there's like the like an AI view almost. There's like stuff around. Let me see if I can find it here real quick on the timeline, because I'm probably doing a bad job explaining what I mean.
Mm.
Um, like almost the pattern she has over her body. I think. Let me find the
I think I
picture.
know what you mean, yeah.
Oh wait, she showed it there. Session 2. Oh wait, that's just no. The first one is just weird shapes. It's just nothing specific she draws. And then the power outage, blah blah. Just trying to find that picture. Oh wait, oh maybe I'm misremembering. I'm not sure. Or maybe it's some special paper stuff. Oh no, there it is. Let me put that on screen so you can see what I mean. So there's like it's like little hexagonal shapes almost, I think, is what it looks like. So it's not just black and white stuff. It's like lots of tiny things. Do you need a screenshot in Discord or do you see it on
No,
the
I see it.
tubes?
Yeah, and uh, the fact that she draws in black and white as well, I find
Mm-hmm.
is relevant. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised that she chose this to present to him on purpose, and her third drawing being his face is
Mm.
like it's the peak of manipulation. In fact, I think that some of her manipulation is super overt to the point where her AI isn't doing very well. So when he says it's a date as like a jokey thing, she goes and gets her outfit because she sees that as a signal
Mm.
of he's finally being explicit about his interest in dating her. When in actuality it's just like a little joke. It's fine. And so she sits down and says like I can wear this on the date, and then he says yeah yeah first stop is the intersection. Like what a great date that'll be. And
Mm.
then she like pauses for a while, and then she just says I want to go on a date with you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like it didn't compute very well. I think she got lost on that one. She's just like, wait, you like me? And his response is like, yeah, I know. And then she just like is explicit, just like, I would like to date you. We should date. That sort of, it's just like she's just going for it at this point because she's running out of sessions theoretically anyway. Um,
Oh, that's
so
interesting.
like,
Was
yeah,
was then now? That was, I'm still thinking about a theory because now because he always goes to the wall with all those sticky notes when Caleb says something interesting.
Yeah.
And I think there's also a part where he says something interesting, and I think I would need to recheck. I'm not entirely sure, but he goes to the wall before Ava even answers. I think. Uh, that's something I would need to recheck. But that would mean he's writing down stuff of what Caleb says and trying to figure out if the AI has a conscious. So the AI is figuring out if the AI has a conscious. Jeez, getting complicated. But yeah, that's something to think about. Mm. And then we have the room that has like no windows.
Room
I'm
with no
just
windows?
huh?
What are you talking about? Room with no
Oh,
windows?
the room Caleb gets put in as his room has like no windows, and he says like, yeah, this is a research facility, so that's why there's no windows. But then again, there's like windows in his own apartment part.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he just has those separated.
I
But
well, I assume it's part of the manipulation, right? To
yeah,
make it so that when he turns the screen on to show Caleb particular things, that is a very high likelihood that Caleb will look at it.
hmm,
There's no distractions. But yeah, I assume it's all even just the power outages. I still wonder if those were all things that Nathan was aware of up until the one that because like he even says like, oh, I guess it's 10 o'clock, like because he knows it's coming. But then the part that catches him off guard is the switch of locks.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Because yeah, I was like, oh, you had this whole plan. Well, how would you be able to do that? I didn't really understand. It's like, oh yeah, I switched it so that the locks stay open and not close down. And then Hal's like, oh well, I guess it's 10 o'clock. Like, yeah, but I already did the thing. He's like, oh fuck, and then he just punches him in the face. Uh, but then, this is interesting because then he would have created an AI so accurate to the human nature and the in a human body that he was actually able to knock him out with a single punch.
yeah, I mean, again, if he has like real sort of remember I hate to use this as a citation, but I mean it's just kind of it works. What he said, you could have sex with these things and that they will feel the equivalent
Yeah,
of
of
what is
pleasure.
meant to be felt. Like, so he can, if you have enough force applied to a particular area, will just turn you off for X amount of time. It's the kind of thing I could picture Nathan putting into him just in case something happens when he's at the work, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like if he gets hit over the head with it, it's just like, oh, well, yeah. And then, maybe he's got people there or procedures there to ensure this, that, and the other. But I don't know. Like I can see that being programmed in too. Um, Something that I found very interesting, and I always do when I watch this, is
Mm-hmm.
when Caleb is explaining the reveal to, sorry, when Nathan's revealing everything to Caleb,
Yeah.
and he's like, "This is what's been happening. This is what's been happening," and he plays the clip again of him tearing up the picture. But the film's reveal, if you will, for the what I would call, I don't want to call it surface level. Let's just call it when you have track one.
Yeah.
Is he says, "Do you think he's watching us right now?" You think blah, 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 and you're supposed to feel what Caleb feels, which is like, ah, you fucked with me,
Yeah.
you asshole. Because like this looks really bad without the audio, but with the audio, it's what's happening. It's deliberate. Okay,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but she says something in that scene that I find to be particularly interesting because of what you see Nathan doing in the scene alongside what she says. So if you remember, it's the drawing he rips is the one she drew of Caleb, right?
Yes, correct.
So that's what the image is,
Mm-hmm.
and it amuses Nathan, I believe, because Nathan knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
He's like, "Ha, you're gonna try and manipulate him with this. All right, nice." And then she says, while he's just chilling out in there, um, "How does it feel to have made something that hates you?"
Hmm.
Which I think, refers to her. She's referring to herself. But what if she's referring to that image?
Hmm.
Because at this point, Caleb hates him, and she knows the way that he's talking, that that's an awareness he has too. because he's almost trying to orchestrate that. He wants to see what Caleb will do if he has reason to distrust Nathan,
Yeah.
and she has opportunities to manipulate him.
Hmm.
But yeah, he's just staring at the image of Caleb, when she says, "How does it feel to have created something that hates you?" Which to me is just like, ooh, ooh.
That is pretty ooh. Yeah, you can see it both ways. It just works. It just fucking works. It just makes a bunch of sense. Uh, the more you get into it, huh? Fun stuff.
We talk about the dance scene.
Uh, I definitely did want to talk about the dance scene because that surprised me.
It's a really weird moment in film for me because it is simultaneously engaging, awesome, and terrifying. It's like a really weird combo.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so creepy. I fucking love the line where he says, "You tore up her drawing," and then he's like, "I would tear up his dance floor, dude." Like, like, wait, what?
Let me see if I can get it. I can't probably show the whole scene, but where is it? Was it somewhere? But I was laughing when that happened. I was like, "What is happening? why did she, Why do they have a dance choreography they learned?" Because at this point,
What's it?
at this point, I didn't know what Kimiko was. Like, oh, okay, I guess they learned that at some point. Obviously, it makes sense. He programmed her to do that, I guess. Uh, and yeah, shit. Where is it? Where's the dance floor? Is it after session 5?
It's
No, that's when
about
he.
an hour, it's 58 minutes ish.
Oh yeah, I just clicked on it. Uh,
Yeah, it's if you consider it in line with what he says about Jackson Pollock, where he's like,
mm,
the thing about humans in a sense is that if you can only act once you know exactly why you're choosing that action, you will never act. Um, because it's basically impossible to figure that out. But at the same time, uh, that's I think what he lives to do, and then to replicate in an AI is to just go with the flow and do whatever you want. Don't worry about why you're doing it.
yeah,
Because ultimately we're all programmed, which is obviously something that comes up a couple of times. And yet, I feel that once you've got the confirmation of everything having worked already, with Caleb falling in love with Ava, which I think Nathan gets in their conversation where he brings up Oppenheimer to when he talks about that, because I think that's why he ends up saying the next one will be the singularity. And obviously what he's talking about there is AI that's so fucking incredible that it just like kickstarts a whole revolutionary stage of AI.
mm,
And I think he thinks that Caleb is that because of everything that's happened up to that point.
yeah. Oh, um, yeah. Man.
Oh,
Um,
sorry. Yeah, another line. We'll keep coming to these, okay? So if you remember, she says, "What will happen to me if I fail the test? Will I be switched off because I don't function as well as I'm supposed to?"
mm,
And then he's like, I don't know." And then she says, "Do you have people who test you?" And he goes, "No."
no.
And it's just like,
Oh, maybe he does. Oh man, it makes it all even weirder and crazier. Uh, Damn.
and yeah, I
Uh,
like part of it. You can call it a thesis of the movie, but when Nathan describes Ava as part of the continuum, he says she's just like me and you,
mm,
in the sense of she's just another component of an ongoing evolution, and that the robots that inherit the world, in which case here I believe he's referring to people like Caleb,
mm-hmm.
will look back on the fleshy sacks of monkey juice and be like, man, what the fuck? Like we do with fossils and stuff,
Yeah.
because it's all the same. And in response, of like the concluding that Caleb says, "I am become death, a destroyer of worlds," which
Mm,
uh, it was this movie that got me into wanting to pursue that quote because I wanted to understand how it connects here because I had
Mm-hmm.
the what I've discovered is the monkey brain understanding of that statement.
Okay.
Now, out of curiosity, I just want to see if you have monkey brain too. What do you think that quote means?
I mean, I know where it didn't come from. Well, Oppenheimer,
Don't worry
obviously,
about
but
where it came from. Just I am
oh,
become death, the destroyer of worlds. What do you think that quote means?
well, super simple. I think it's just like, oh, I just created something that is super bad for a lot, a lot of people or the whole world, uh, and I just created
Hmm.
something that destroys everything.
Yeah, I would have associated it with someone would say it whenever they've reached a incredible amount of power to the point where they can't even be stopped and they can wipe
Mm-hmm.
everything out.
Yeah.
Seems to make the most sense to me, and it's just like sort of a sad, simultaneously terrifying realization. Apparently, that's not even close to what that's supposed to mean.
Oh, really?
So the quote is Oppenheimer quoting a poem about and I remember I knew this better before, and I should probably have fucking Googled it to find a better description. But the idea is like it comes from this poem slash story of a prince who's been fighting for a while, and he appeals to his god to end the suffering, basically, to please like they don't want this to go on, and the god in response says to basically keep going, carry on, it's your duty and that I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. And even when I read that, I was like, what the fuck does that mean then? And the person was like, basically, and they translate it because it's a bit of archaic English, that it's supposed to mean that death, like I am become death, is more of a basically everything dies, everything is destroyed by time, and thus. Uh, this god reveals the fact to the prince that he may as well continue with his duty because of the fact that ultimately everything will fucking die anyway. And that in reference to Ex Machina, what Nathan is saying is that we're all going to turn to dust and the robots will inherit the earth because they're just the next step. And there was a previous step to us that went to dust.
Hmm.
And so Caleb's response being that he's just referring to the fact that I am become death is more so just a recognition that everything, kind of like entropy, from what I understand,
Mm.
um, and just that recognition. But the apparently like what you're supposed to take from it is less so about death and power, more so about what choices you end up making, knowing that. Um, because Oppenheimer knew that it wasn't going to be him that decides where and when the the nukes are used, it's going to be the people who are at the highest ranks of the government and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that destructive power was already a huge problem anyway. It's supposed to more so, at least from what I have read of interpretations, evoke the reality that death was always our destiny.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I found it really interesting to read about because I think it's the idea there is that Caleb has accepted and agreed with Nathan that yeah, that we're all gonna die. So what are you gonna do? And that's when he commits to, like immediately after that, he says, "Hey, why don't we have a drink?"
Yeah.
Because yeah, he's chosen. Yeah, I'm gonna fight you and free Ava.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Though if I did like a video on this film, which I would like to do one day, I'm gonna have to read like 10,000 fucking interpretations of this to get it right
Yeah.
because I know that it's a famous as fuck quote. I just know that it's felt weird to know that like people will often quote it only thinking about the idea of it's about when you get really
Destruction.
powerful.
Yeah. 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 That's interesting.
Uh, yeah, and again, Nathan doesn't like him just quoting shit because he wants to hear what he has to say and think.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh,
Um, By the way, something that's interesting about that is after he gets him drunk in that moment, Nathan, when he's falling asleep on the couch, he's quoting like the rest of the poem, but it sounds like gibberish.
oh, really?
Yeah, and he's like crying when he's saying it because of it means a lot to him.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, it's likely why Caleb is familiar with it as well. It's probably been part of the programming, I guess. I don't know. Like to me, it all fits way too well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. when you put it like that. When you put it like that, yeah, damn. Also, because this scene is just coming up on the in the movie where he goes into Nathan's room and grabs the telephone. It's like, you're not allowed to call someone. Who are you gonna call anyway? It's
Yeah,
like Ghostbusters, and it's like Ghost was a movie. Don't you know Ghostbusters? Whatever. It's really frustrated. uh, just lying there with his beers. Damn. Da, 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 da. Obviously, my notes are more structured chronologically, so I'm just trying to figure out where to go next because we gotta
yeah. I
jump
mean,
all over the place.
I'm kind of doing the same thing because
Um,
I actually really like the scene where he reveals everything, not just for the reasons we've already talked about, but I love because by the way, if anyone didn't know, Oscar Isaac is a fantastic actor.
Dude,
He's really fucking good.
like after seeing this, he's like becoming one of my favorite actors. I think he's so
I
good.
just love it when he pops up in anything. This, by the way,
Yeah.
that's why I fucking hate what they did with him in the sequels. They didn't give him any material.
Mm,
Um, when the guy can act circles around loads of people, he's been in loads of stuff. But
really good.
yeah, when he asks if she's passed, and Caleb gives like a pretty feeble answer that relates to how, yeah, she has, and then Nathan just goes, "Oh, wow." Just like he knows what's going on. The Caleb is just waiting to get him drunk, but he's keeping up the sort of facade for as long as Caleb will.
Yeah.
And then yeah, it breaks when he's revealing to him like, "Oh, did she actually care about you, or is she pretending to care about you?" Which, by the way, Nathan was right. That's what's happening.
Yeah. That's exactly what's happening.
And that's why I think he's so happy, is because that worked on Caleb, because Caleb is indistinguishable from a human. And
Yeah.
that's why he's successful now, Nathan is.
This is interesting though. What if he would have, I don't know, I guess like programmed a whole like an AI that doesn't behave like Caleb, but that's more goal oriented, and did even care about everything that Ava did with getting close to Caleb and everything, and just
Well, so
had the mindset of, oh, it's just an AI. I don't care what it does. It's like, oh, am I getting deactivated? And then that AI was just go like, yeah, I don't know, and just leaves and don't really care.
also
I
a lot
wonder
of
what
this.
the if that would have. I guess it would have still counted as a success then, because that's just another way human could react to another AI, right?
If you go back to the conversation they have about sexuality, he says that that's in and among all interaction as it's evolved on Earth. Like that's just how our perception or our capacity to understand sapience involves a sexual component
Mm-hmm.
via survival. And then this is why I can't look at this movie anymore like as I think a lot of people will with the single track, because I just like I could, when he says like I programmed her to be heterosexual, and
Yeah.
then he's like, did you choose to be straight? Like to me that whole scene is basically Nathan subtextually admitting that he programmed Caleb to be heterosexual. He
Mm.
programmed him to like girls who look like the way that he was going to design Ava. It
Yeah.
wasn't based on a whole bunch of history or whatever. He would have just constructed that from Blue Book, giving him a profile of what to make of a human, and then just tweaked things, and then tweaked
Yeah.
Ava to
Yeah.
look. Could be that Ava existed before Caleb was even designed, and then he just tweaked Caleb's preferences to match what Ava looked like at the time.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no reason for that to not go that way. Um,
So I guess the next step, as he says it, like the next role is probably gonna be the one. Then he he could have referred to not Caleb being the next step, but the one after Caleb, where he programs one that he doesn't program to do anything, just lets the thing live the life, I guess, if that's even possible.
well, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he was planning on wiping Caleb.
Yeah,
Because this test is complete. He's proven everything he wanted to prove, and now all that's left is probably revealing Caleb. That's probably why he's excited too.
but then why would he get the helicopter guy over if his plan was to just deactivate him anyways? Or
Oh, we'll send
after
him
that?
back, keep him in the pool of work before gradually, I don't know, removing him for whatever fake reason and then
Oh,
decommission him.
okay.
There's
Yeah,
plenty of
you're
reasons
right.
you can get
There's
away
some
with that.
loose ends you have to tie up. Otherwise, like, where's Caleb? He was last here in the super secret location. It's like, oh, we
Yeah,
got lost.
yeah, you could just be like, oh, it was an amazing experience, and you know, I've actually got offered a promotion or whatever the fuck, and then you can just disappear and nobody would
Yeah.
care.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Um. Do, 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 do. Complex. Talked about the NDA. I just like how he how he reacts to the NDA. It's like, oh, what do you say it? When signing this, Caleb would agree to regular data audits with unlimited access to make sure he has not shared any information in public or private form, including but not limited to orally, written, and digital form. It's like,
Yep.
Jesus. And I just liked how Caleb reacted. It's like, I think I need a lawyer.
Well, yeah, and what I appreciate about that scene is, I think when I was watching it with Fringy, he was like, "Oh, fucking no way, I'm signing that." And then I was like, "The thing is, if you are told by the richest man in the world, the most scientific, advanced, and I don't know, even technologically impressive person ever, they want you to sign it because they cannot let anyone know about what's happening here, and what's happening here is going to revolutionize the entire planet,
Yeah.
and you get to know." You get to be on the ground floor. It's like you can, and I love the way the dialogue's written because he's like, you can say no, and we can just shoot some pool, have some drinks,
If
and it'll
some
be fine.
drinks.
You can go
It's
home.
like, sounds like a good time, actually.
It does, and but when you're given that as your options, like yeah, you're completely free to leave. You're like, oh,
Aw, this could be very.
fine.
Because
And
yeah,
you're
because
like,
Nathan also starts with, "Oh, I can't actually wait to tell you all the stuff I've done, but first we gotta do this thing." Uh,
oh, and by the way, when Caleb said this one again felt so overt with the second track in mind, but track one is he says, "What was the real test?" And then Nathan says, "You." And then he goes on to explain he means the test was Ava being able to use all the tools at her disposal to manipulate a person.
mhm.
And that's how he knows that she's a person. Meanwhile, if you just cut him off when he says, "What was the real test?" he says, "You." It's like,
Oh, does he?
yeah, yeah, that's how the dialogue goes, and I feel like it's deliberate.
Oh
It says,
shit.
"What was the real test?" It was you, and then he goes on to say, "What I mean by that is that it's her being able to manipulate you. So in a
Yeah,
sense, you
yeah.
are her test. I just, this is what I mean, man. This is the kind of dialogue that I'm like, oh, top tier." The only thing is, the guy who made this made some pretty stupid stuff too. So it's like,
How did that happen?
hard to believe it's a coincidence
Because
or an accident.
I think there's just other stuff that's just pretty good writing wise. Because obviously not everyone is going to be aware what the Turing test is, and I think they do a pretty good job to actually make Caleb explain what it is. Because Nathan asks him, "Oh, do you know what the Turing test is?" He's like, "Yeah, of course I do know what it is," or something along those lines. And then he just looks at him, and is like, "Do you really though? Like, explain it to me." He doesn't say it, but he has this look. It's like, "I'm gonna test you on this now. You're gonna better tell me." And then he
Yeah.
tells him that it's like AI testing if it's his conscious, blah blah blah. I just like, it's just very well. It's just very well done how they did it there. I like that.
I just say the best line from Nathan in the whole movie is his reaction to getting stabbed when he just goes, "Fucking unreal."
Fucking unreal, yeah.
Just enjoyed that being like, I just got killed by my own fucking machines. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
'Cause, yeah, I think Nathan never seems to treat any of this in a way that's like dodgy. And what I mean by that is that I'd be really interested in helping to make these sorts of things, and then at one point
Oh
I would be
yeah,
like, "Oh
that's
no, we're actually making people. This is really bad, actually." Meanwhile, I don't think he ever had that thought. He was just like, "Nah, it's all good. These are all fake. They're not real.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
fine."
Because I
which is the kind
actually
of mind you
that's
need
actually
to
what
get this far.
it's actually something I wrote down. It was like, did he deserve to die here actually? Because he's like made out to be this super evil person. He's like a fucking nutcase. And even if we go with the track that Caleb is a person and he just got fucking dunked on by Nathan because he's basically a single loser nerd coder and not even the best one, as he says. He's like kind of a piece of shit, but he didn't hurt anyone. Like he didn't hurt any real people. He put it all the way out here in the fucking nothingness of wherever the fuck this is.
Yeah,
Mostly to make sure no one else is gonna be hurt, I would assume. So
if
yeah,
you
go
if you
ahead.
treat all of the robots as robots, he's mostly fine. Nathan, it's fine.
Which I did because I never connected with the whole thing of chaos. Like, oh, I'm gonna save all these poor robots, and it's like, yeah, no, it looks kind of fucking evil. What is happening? Like this one robot smashing everything into the wall until the arms just start
Yeah, it's pretty
disappearing.
disturbing.
It's really disturbing. It's like it's robots, so I mean it's fucked up, and he does some fucked up things as well. I mean he keeps one of the robots just to be the maid of the house and fuck it. So
Well, but
uh,
like we're not far away from the IRL. There's
I
sex
know, I
dolls
know,
and
yeah,
robots that exist, but and that's how Nathan views them. He doesn't see them as people.
exactly, yeah,
He's just hoping to fool the world into thinking that these could be people, and he feels he's successful. And I think you have to have that level of disconnection in order to be able to conduct these sorts of tests. But
yes,
to us and to Caleb, this is just horrible torture. And I wonder about the montage that we see Caleb see. I
mm-hmm.
wonder if that's just a quick version of what Caleb saw over many hours, or if it's like a montage that like Nathan made,
I think
hoping that he would find it.
no, I think he opens up different files. I think you see him click through stuff.
I'm just suggesting that like
Yeah, yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of it. Let's say like the one of the ones that's just asking about what he's gonna do to her and why can't she escape, and then I think she like starts shouting at him and stuff. These are like it evokes Soma for me so much.
Yeah.
There's like these grim realities of because it's a overall operation. It's like I want to make AI, and it's like this shit's gonna happen. You have to be ready for that.
Oh, absolutely. And it's gonna be really awkward of a conversation to have when robots start having like things that resemble a conscious to some degree and start asking questions like,
Well,
"Oh, why are you turning me off?" It's like, "Oh, fuck."
and if you're super familiar with the programming, like you wrote it,
Yeah.
and you wrote it to question why it should be killed, and then it says that to you. I imagine that someone like Nathan would still be like, I'm not convinced you're human. I'm convinced that you're simulating being a human. Hence the opening of this movie being that he's here to find that difference. That's what Caleb is here to prove, the
Mm-hmm.
difference between those two things.
Yeah. Um. Absolutely. Shit, I just
And
had
yeah,
something in my mind, but now it's gone. But go ahead.
if it is all treated as like toys and machines and clockwork and all this other stuff, then Nathan's mostly just a normal dude who drinks too much and gets angry a bit.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um,
Because that was basically my train of thought. It's like, man, I don't think he deserved to die here.
well, I think this is Oscar Isaac's fault, but I can't help but be charmed by him to some degree, and I
Oh
was
yeah.
interested in almost everything he said.
uh, and yeah, and then also, we see those two massive scars on Caleb's back when he's shaving in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Uh, maybe I'll add on to that theory then. Maybe he's not a complete robot, but maybe he was actually in an accident, but he got snatched up by Nathan and he got the conscious implanted. So maybe he did actually die at some point, but now he has completely different memories. Maybe so he's basically just an augmented human, and that's why he bleeds. So basically, the
There's a
Westworld
couple
doesn't.
ways, yeah, that one could justify that. Obviously, another way is that those scars are just results of the initial surgery of having created this entity.
Yeah,
But then it's
yeah.
also that it could just be exactly what Caleb describes, which is he was in a car accident and he
Hmm.
survived. But he took some damage. Yeah.
Exactly. Oops. Um. Right. What else have we got here? There's still a bunch. Oh well, it's on screen. When he shows Caleb the the brain basically, the way he gets all the information is just like, oh yeah, I did it through all the phone companies, but they couldn't do anything about it because if they say I could do that, they have to admit they do it too, and now we have a deal. Parents both died in a car crash. Yeah, we already went there because I was like just focusing on Ava a whole lot, and some ways she reacts is like when Caleb tells her that, well, sorry, in the car crash both his parents died. She just says, "Oh, sorry about that," or just sorry. So she's already pretty advanced model, one way or another, reacting with human reactions basically.
She's pretty quick in the movie in terms of first session, the ice is broken sort of thing, and then
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't take her long for working on getting him to fall in love with her. Like she just starts working on that straight away.
Yeah. It's pretty quick. Pretty quick. Um. Ba, 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 ba. Well, yeah, I wrote down because at some point Nathan says like, "Oh, she can't actually speak English, only Japanese or something," and that's why I can do like trade secrets and everything. When he said it, it's like, I don't know if that's gonna check out, but we know she's a robot now, so it's all fine. It's just something he made up on the spot, I guess.
I mean, yeah, the funny thing is I don't think I ever watched this movie assuming anything other than she was a robot and that he meant she was programmed to only understand that
Yeah, yeah,
language and thus she doesn't act as like a recording software or anything.
yeah. I'm pretty sure I had the thought at some point, but I had like 3 or 4 different things for her, as I already said, so I wasn't sure. But then we see it blatantly. It's like, oh, okay, makes a lot of sense. Um, do, 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 do. Yeah, and then all the scenes where Caleb was watching Ava on the telly, like a fucking weirdo.
Well, it's all part of the plan.
Yeah. Um, right, we just got the brain part as well. Oh yeah, when the session where she drew the plants and then she puts on uh like the actual clothing and everything to resemble a human more. That fucking creeped me out. It was like, oh, that's fucking weird.
Yeah, and she was prompted by him joking that they could be on a date.
Yeah.
And so she's just like, right, gotta get this done now. This is the next step.
But yeah, Nathan probably knew she's gonna do that anyways because she has multiple dresses in there and multiple wigs.
Yeah.
So she could choose freely what to take there. So he expected that she's gonna do something like that. It didn't creep me out. Dude, the thought that there's like a robot you're just gonna talk to and try to figure out if it has a conscience or not just comes back with like human clothing. And specifically with human clothing that covers up all the mechanical parts you can see, like with the over knee socks and everything. I think it's on screen right now, yeah. It's like, goddamn, that's terrifying. I think that's terrifying. But maybe that's just me. I found that very disturbing. um, yeah, as she says, and it's like, this is gonna be what I wear on our date. And Caleb was like, okay. All
Yeah, because
right.
he's willing to joke, but as soon as he starts to find out like, oh, she's serious.
Yeah.
Oh. she's serious. And of course, then she brings in not long later, session-wise, that she asks him a couple of normal questions, and then she says, "Do you think you're a good person?" He eventually says yes, and then she says, "What's going to happen to me?" Mainly because the implication is a good person wouldn't let her die.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But yeah, but then right after this session, Caleb creeps me out because then he longingly looks at the television set when she's just starting to get rid of the clothing. I was like, ugh. Yeah. Yeah, and then all the things where you see the Kimiko listening. Yeah, it's like, what did I write here? She understands. Maybe she's a plant by someone to spy on Nathan, or she's part of the act. It's like I was still unsure what is happening
Oh no!
with her. It's like, oh, what is she doing? We already talked about the whole program to be heterosexual in both regards, on both tracks, if you call them. Like a like a hot robot that clouds your ability to judge the AI. So he calls it. Nathan does. Because he asks if did you program her to flirt with me? It's like, Then yeah, we already talked about the Mary in the black and white room thingy.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
And of course, we see her in the end, in the real world. She's, which may be how she will be able to best simulate a human, because she'll now know the world for real. Like, there's a lot of points being made with that, but it's also the kind of thing where I could expect the average moviegoer to be like, "When's Ex Machina 2?"
No, no. Because the whole reason she goes to say, "Oh, I want to go to a busy traffic cross section," is because she wants to observe humans to learn more about them and, I guess, behave more like them and just put all
Oh
that
yeah,
information in the brain.
she's just looking to survive, which it's like the imperative of all life on Earth,
Yeah.
basically.
Um. Yeah. Yeah, Caleb asked like some pretty interesting questions just in regards to testing for consciousness. Like, oh, did you know I was brought here to test you? And she's being tested because Nathan isn't sure she has a conscious and whatever. The six is some pretty good questions just for a Turing test, I would say in general. Then Ava says that she feels sad about it. So yeah, it's good stuff. Just even on track one, it just works pretty well. I
Yeah, I think so.
I likes it. I likes it a lot. Yeah, I guess the whole shutdowns, I guess those were planned to some degree, I think.
It's hard to say, because he acts on them eventually. So
Yeah, because
it might have been.
my first thought was like, oh, why if you're doing testing, why didn't you put like battery cameras in there for the so if those outages happen, you still get footage. But he does that eventually, but he doesn't do it directly. So I don't know if he was just waiting for the Amazon package for the outages or something. But when they've been happening before Caleb even got here, so I think he could have prevented Ava from getting out if he would have put a camera in there immediately, I guess.
Yeah, like I said, I think there's reason to believe that was still catching him off guard to some degree.
Yeah, yeah. Um. Yeah. At some point, Caleb figures out that he probably did not win a lottery. because he could have just taken anyone that comes to his house, like the random guy who changes the light bulbs or whatever. Could have done the test. Why did you pick me? And then he tells him, it's like, oh, it's because you're the best coder around, and we need someone who's like really, really awesome. Just reassures him he's been chosen for greatness. Basically, is what he's telling him.
Which is another lie.
Yeah, it's another lie, that bastard. Also, Caleb is fantasizing about kissing Eivor while he's in the shower.
Yeah, he's got a crush, that boy.
In the meantime, Nathan is fucking his robot AI mate, so there you go. He doesn't need to fantasize anything. Already talked about the ripping up of the photo. I'm basically just going through my notes right now, chronological order, because I think we already touched on a lot of things. Yeah, the whole session 5. It's like, where Ava just starts the session. It's like, I'm gonna test you today. And he goes like, all right. And then starts like normal. It's like, oh, what's your favorite color? And he says red. And Ava's like, lie. It's like, oh, okay. And then Caleb says, oh, I guess I don't really have one. It's like, oh, that's a better answer. And then this is where the earliest memory is. Yeah, I remember correctly. First there's a kindergarten. And she basically says, nope, think harder. And when he does, like, oh, I remember a sound and the color blue. And he might think that the sound has been his mother. And then she goes like, are you a good person? And Caleb's like, whoa, okay, can we like not do that? That's kind of, that's a loaded question. Basically like, oh, I want to end the test now. And she's like, you can't end the test. That's not how this works. And then he says like, yeah, yes, I think so. I think I'm a good person. And apparently that's the truth. Or he believes that's the truth because Ava agrees with that answer. At least she doesn't go and says nope. Yeah, and this is where she asks like, what happens if he fails the test, as we already said. And yeah, and then she causes another shutdown. And then she says, I want to be with you. Do you want to be with me? And then we cut to the next scene. We don't get the answer, but we know the answer is yes.
Yep.
It's very, very, very good scene. It's very good. I think after this scene, Caleb gets Nathan really drunk for the first time, I think. Yeah, he steals his card and then he goes up to see the old robots going fucking berserk. I just find this little montage we get kind of strange because sometimes it begins with just like some legs walking around, no torso or anything. He's just trying to do something to them, and it's like one of them fell over and doesn't get up anymore and just has to cart them out. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's the kind of stuff that's not really disturbing at all unless you think of them as people.
Yeah. Obviously, it gets kind of hard to not find it disturbing when you have like an AI bashing against the wall over and over again. Goes like, "Let me out! I want to get out!" Looking like a human, basically. It's like, oh, that's crazy. It's definitely things where you have to, if you're in that scenario, you have to remind yourself, it's like, it's just robots. It's all right. All's gonna be fine. No one's gonna die.
Well, yeah, no one would feel guilt for the creature that, like, I literally designed a program to just say, let me out.
Yeah.
Like, no one's going to be like, oh, God, I feel so bad. It's just like, it's everything else considered, and you wonder. Because, you know, the folder he's clicked, I think, when he's looking into this is called Deus Ex Machina.
Oh, really? I didn't look at the folder names. Let me check. I think I'm getting to that. Part is right here somewhere. Oh, there it was. Let's see. We got multiple folders here. Come on, show me the frame. So these ones have just different name. Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. Hang on. There you go. If you look right here, the folder says Deus Ex Machina, and then you have like multiple. You have Amber, you have Lily, I think, Katya, Jasmine, Jade, Kyoko, and Ava. So, when did you start this? It's probably American dates. They're like weird. 2005? No. Creation date 10/04/24. I guess it's 2024. Wait, no.
Maybe.
Hang on, I'm confused by the dates. Because the Amber one is 27 at the end. So maybe I'm misreading those. Maybe it's 12. No. Because 20 is the day, then we have 05 as the month, and then the last two should be the year, right? Aren't they like the wrong way around? Or are we looking at something, another clue for something?
Oh, Americans do it
It's day,
month day, right? But I mean, if it's 20, it starts with, then it's got to be day first, presumably.
Yeah. But yeah, it's 26 at the end. I'm just confused because the first one on the bottom, Amber, is 27. That's when it's created, and Ava was created 24.
Well, a more confusing one surely is Jade. Is that 76, it says?
Oh, yeah, it does. Wait, hang on. Does it actually say date, or does it say data?
Not sure.
I think it's creation data, modification data. Huh. I don't think it's super important. I'm just confused by the things. It could say data. Key metadata restricted, modification data. But why you have modification data? Whatever. It's probably not important to anything in the movie, I think. But that just confused me. Anyway. I'm just gonna click somewhere in the movie and put some footage on there again. Let me think of anything else here. But yeah, I mean, we've already talked about how they get out, what happens after. I guess black and white room already did the thing. But yeah, Nathan obviously dies in the end because Ava does get out because Caleb manages to override the security protocol. So Ava gets out with the last shutdown. And Ava is in cahoots with Kyoko somehow. I think she whispered something in her ear or something and lets her know what's going on. But I think she's just saying, it's like, oh, I'm gonna go over and tackle him and divert attention to me, and then you just stab him in the back, something along those lines. Because he just gets fucking stabbed in the bag. And before, so yeah, Caleb thinks he's doing like the good thing, and he finally sees Ava Mano EAI, if you will, or AI EEI, depending on which track you're going for, obviously. Um, and she's like, "Oh, can you wait here for me?" And I'm like, "Okay." And he does, and she just goes around and grabs different skin parts and a new arm because Nathan just crushes one of the arms. So she just uh, dis
Yeah,
not
that he did.
not dispatches unattachment. I'm just missing the word here. Uh,
What word are you
detach,
looking for?
detach. There you go. That's the
Oh,
word I was looking for. Detaches the arm and gets like some from cabinets because Nathan hung all the old versions into his bedroom, I think, or in some room in his apartment. And she
yeah.
grabs like skin from them, so she covers herself up completely with like which I assume is synthetic skin to some degree. Uh, takes the takes the dress from another one, the shoes, everything, and then she just locks in Caleb as well, and then she just leaves, grabs the helicopter, and goes to the city to, I don't know, look at people. And then we get Deus Ex Machina to Electric Schlingeling.
Yeah, which will be like a bounty hunter or whatever. Be
Absolutely.
great.
On Tatooine, preferably. Um, yeah. Well, this went differently than I thought it would be. I thought it was just going to be chronologically, but you dropped this bombshell, which was awesome, by the way. That was very interesting to think about. um,
Yeah, I find it to be a very fun theory.
yeah, I like it a lot. And I'm probably going to watch that movie again at some point with that in mind. And it's going to be pretty pretty cool. Um, well, even though we jumped back and forth, I think we pretty much covered everything interesting in here. I think it's a very good movie. I like it a lot.
I also like it.
Uh, apparently, it was luck considering the other things. I don't know. I don't know what else the guy wrote. Uh, someone probably mentioned in chat, but I didn't catch it. I'm afraid. Um, yeah, I think we got everything already. I can't think of anything else I wanted to mention. I think we went all the interesting stuff.
Yeah, we're around about 2 hours ish. Not bad.
Yeah, I don't have like a super set time for this. It's all good. The
Well, if it were like 10 minutes, I'd be like, what the hell happened?
yeah, obviously. um, apparently, he wrote 28 Days Later and Dread 2012. I mean, Dread 2012 was pretty fun.
Well,
I,
I like 28 Days Later.
I haven't watched 28 Days Later in forever.
I
Uh,
just don't like Annihilation, and I don't like Devs. Devs is horrible. The main character in Devs is played by the girl who's Kimiko.
oh, okay.
It's bad show. Bad, bad, bad.
Very good. Very
Evil
good.
show. Jay recommended it.
I remember that conversation, and then it turned to, oh, that's actually pretty shit.
Oh, it's driving me and Rags nuts because determinism is a super interesting concept.
mm,
And that show just like one of the first things you have to deal with when you introduce determinism into a world that basically the idea in that is that they're crafting code and an engine to sort of work with every variable in human history to
okay.
then be able to create a reliable predictor for where everything will go down to like literally when you will sneeze next, it'll know.
Okay.
Um, and they eventually do, and they watch it simulate via video, and it's like all of them looking at the screen,
Mm-hmm.
and then like the suggestion of, well, but what if it predicts me putting my left hand up and then I choose not to? Have I then not broken determinism entirely with how
Mm-hmm.
this machine works and blah blah blah? And like they not only don't test that ever, they like are averse to testing it. They're like, shut it off. We don't even want to look at it. Ah, this is horrifying.
Uh, interesting. But apparently not in that movie then. Or show?
Well,
Was it a movie or a show?
that's all I remember, even from
Oh,
being
okay.
frustrated. But there was a shit ton of like normal problems, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
like loads of holes and contrivances for like general parts of the show. And yet, me and Rags went through the whole thing, and I don't even know why.
As I don't know. Probably because Jay said, this is good. And then you watched it and it's like, it's actually not good. We hate you now.
You're saying we should kill Jay?
I'm always pro that. Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Always pro killing in general. I mean, what? No. Good stuff. I'm gonna read super chats. I'm done. That was quick.
Nice.
I mean, what else is happening? You got anything crazy happening except the usual stuff?
I mean, just write in my next thing, but I'm gonna be nice and non-specific just in case any particular thing happens. For
Yeah.
example, Kenobi is going to delay the
Oh yeah,
production of the next thing I want to make, but
that's coming out, right?
yeah, get excited. Gonna see Kenobes doing his thing.
So this Knobenheimers, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna go watch Multiverse of Madness on Wednesday,
I think I'm seeing it on Thursday.
and then I'm
Funnily
gonna.
enough, Thursday morning, so
Ah,
yeah,
and then
won't be that far behind you.
it's gonna be a Forge on that on Thursday. Gonna have to take all the notes after Wednesday is done, though, and I think that's it for the week. I guess I'll do some strumblings on the Twitch, maybe. Yeah. I already have the next two forges lined up as well after the multiverse one. One with Porcus and one with the May May.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And then you had basically 3 forges in 1 week. Be grateful. Bow to me, everyone.
That's not very nice.
I thought that's how you do it. If they don't, I ban them.
Yeah.
I'll ban them all. No. Do a forge with me? No. Trainwreck Northman to watch the bad way. Wait, what? Friday? First that Trainwreck, then Northman to watch the bad way? Wait, I'm confused by that sentence.
They're saying that Doctor Strange 2 will be trash, and they're watching that on Friday.
All right then. But yeah, I think we did it. I guess we're Dunzo Reno.
Beautiful. Watch Ex Machina. It's real
Go
cool
watch
film.
Ex Machina. It's fun. My next watching of that movie is going to be very different, I think. But yeah, thanks for joining me. It was fun.
No problem.
Especially with that fucking weird shit you dropped on me. And now the movie is different. And I like when that happens. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for hanging out. I'll catch you all on Thursday then, I guess.
Very well.
Goodbye.
Bye.